For this video, the definition of a unique potion is one which does not boost or restore any conventional stat or attribute. The vast majority of potions in the game fall into three broad categories. The first category is that they either increase health or increase mana or any other class resource for that matter, such as Rage for warriors. The second category are potions that increase the player's attributes, such as intellect, agility, strength, etc. The third and final category included in the conventional category of potions are those which increase resistances or absorb certain types of damage, like frost damage for example. And then finally we'll be excluding potions that come from quests or only work in certain zones or continents. Now let's dive right into this first entry at number 10, which is all about water, or more specifically water exploration. Water breathing, water walking, and swim speed have all been combined into this entry, so more fun potions can be explored later on in this video. It would be very hard to explore underwater without water breathing. When this video was written at the beginning of the War Within expansion, there were 3 potions that gave the player underwater breathing. Both the Elixir of Water Breathing and the Elixir of Greater Water Breathing come from the classic alchemy. The Elixir of Water Breathing lasts for 30 minutes, while the greater one lasts for 1 hour. The third potion is the Dranic Water Breathing Elixir, which was added in Warlords of Draenor and also gives a 1-hour water breathing buff. Overall, however, water breathing isn't that difficult to come by in the game. Shamans have a water breathing ability, and Warlocks also have unending breath. Druids can breathe underwater as well in aquatic form. Water breathing can be gained from fishing poles, weapons, and even some food items. Water walking is the second water exploration buff. Like water breathing, there are also 3 potions that give the player water walking. The first is the Elixir of Water Walking from Classic Alchemy, which lasts for 10 minutes, although the buff is broken by any damage taken. The second is the Potion of Dranic Water Walking Elixir, which was added in Warlords of Draenor. Its buff is exactly the same as the buff from the Elixir of Water Walking. The third and final potion that allows for water walking is from the Battle for Azeroth expansion. The Sea Mist potion is made with either Kul Tiran or Zandalari alchemy, and it allows the player to float over water for 1 minute. But damage does not cancel its effect. Water walking is very similar to water breathing in that it's pretty easy for the player to obtain without using a potion. For example, priests have the Levitate ability and Death Knights have Path of Frost. A Hunter's Water Strider pet can also grant allies Surface Trot. Finally, and most importantly with the introduction of mount equipment in BFA, the inflatable mount hooves allow for any mount to walk on water as well. Our third place contender, the number 10 spot, is swim speed. There are 3 potions in game that increase swim speed. The first is the swim speed potion from Classic Alchemy, which doubles the player's swim speed for 20 seconds. The second is the dark water potion from Mists of Pandaria. Using this potion will transform the player into a Kinyu assassin and will quadruple their swim speed, but it only lasts for 8 seconds and is ineffective beyond level 49. The final potion is the Dranic Swiftness potion, which grants 200% swim speed for 8 seconds. Although it's a nice quality of life feature, there are still better items in the game which grant faster swim speed buffs for less effort, such as the Feast of Fishes from BFA, which grants a 225 swim speed bonus. The legendary Underlight Angular Fishing Pole from Legion, which gives a 250% speed increase, and the Cursed Swabby Helmet toy from Mop, which allows for 300% swim speed. There are also plenty of other items that grant swim speed buffs, even if they are not quite as strong as the swim speed potion. Some of these items include trinkets, rings, and belts. The Warlock ability Unending Breath not only grants water breathing as we mentioned earlier, but it also grants the player 120% swim speed. Druids can swim in the water at 200% speed, which is the same speed the swim speed potion grants the player. Like the water breathing potions and water walking potions, the swim speed potion had the best uses in the early years of WoW. But as time went on, there are now simply better, faster, and cheaper ways to get water walking, water breathing, and increasing a player's swim speed. And this video is sponsored by Factor. If you're tired of the hassle of meal planning, grocery shopping, and cooking fatigue, Factor is here to help. They take the stress out of meal prep by delivering chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals right to your door. With over 35 meals to choose from each week, including options like keto, calorie smart, vegan, and veggie, there's always something that fits your lifestyle. No more worrying about what's for dinner or struggling to stick to your diet goals. I've been using Factor myself, and it's a total game changer. Having delicious, ready-to-eat meals saves so much time, especially on busy days. And it's made life a lot easier, and the food actually tastes good. Plus, when things get hectic, Factor is flexible. You can change your order every week with plans ranging from 4 to 18 meals, or even pause or reschedule deliveries anytime. It's all about what works for you. Support the channel by clicking my link and subscribing to Factor. Every purchase helps support the channel. And don't forget to use the creator code HeroFeb50 at checkout. And at number 9, we have the beloved, often memed upon Noggenfogger Elixir. When consumed, it gives the player 3 different buffs. The first of these buffs turns the player into a skeleton and also gives the player underwater breathing. It turns out when you're dead and have no lungs, you don't really need to worry about breathing underwater. This effect lasts for 10 minutes. The second option the potion can do to the player is shrink them smaller, which also lasts for 10 minutes. The third and final buff provides a slow fall effect for 15 seconds. While each of these buffs can have their own uses, the potion can be taken multiple times, allowing for the different buffs to occur simultaneously. Meaning if you get lucky, you can be a small, slow-falling skeleton that doesn't need to breathe. After the Cataclysm, Marin Noggenfogger, now leader of the Steamweedle Cartel, gives his invention to his wife Sprinkle to sell as he became too busy. Sprinkle Noggenfogger still sells the Noggenfogger Elixir in Gadgetzan for 35 silver. This potion became a well-known item within the WoW community, and it epitomizes the silly, wacky inventions of the goblins. The Noggenfogger Elixir is at the number 9 spot on this list for 3 reasons. First, it isn't too useful in its own right, and there are very limited applications with the benefits of the buff it applies. Second, it simply would be remiss to not include the Noggenfogger Elixir, as it is sort of a meme. And third and finally, since it can not only grant water breathing, which was at the number 10 spot, but it can also give the player other buffs, this means the Noggenfogger Elixir has to be ranked higher than water breathing, just based on the fact that 3 sometimes useful buffs are better than only 1. And at number 8, we have a tie between 2 potions that also became toys. The first potion is the Inky Black Potion, which significantly darkens the player's world to make it appear as though it was midnight. The buff from the potion lasts for 2 hours, but is only sold by Rhonda Greenteeth in the Darkmoon Island during the Darkmoon Fair. The potion was added in Legion's patch 7.2, but proved so popular and enduring on the auction house that a toy version of the potion was eventually added to the game. The toy is called Shadescale and drops from the rare Shasera in Nazjatar. The toy was added in patch 8.2 and provides a very similar, if not the exact same 2-hour buff as the Inky Black Potion does. The second potion in the number 8 spot is the Potion of Illusion. This potion was made with Cataclysm Alchemy, and when it's used, it swaps the player's body models with someone from within the player's own party. A version of this toy was made available in MoP called Ali's Skymirror, which drops from Ali in the Dread Waste. It should be noted that the Mage Ability Illusion was added to the game during MoP as well, which is essentially the same thing as the potion. Additionally, both Cataclysm and Dragonfly Jewel Crafting allows the player to make a consumable which also does the same effect, called the Reflecting Prism and Projection Prism respectively. While both the Inky Black Potion and Potion of Illusion are no longer needed since the toys provide easier and faster ways of acquiring the buff, the fact that these 2 potions became toys at all in the first place highlights how fun and unique the potions were and how fun they proved to be. And at number 7, we have a tie between 3 potions that give the player a slow fall effect. The first of these is the Potion of Slowfall, which can be looted from the Hanging Satchel treasures in Shadowmoon Valley and alternate Draenor. This slow fall effect lasts for 30 seconds. There are also 2 other potions which I previously mentioned in this video that also provide slow fall effects. The first is the Noggenfogger Elixir, which came in at number 8. It has a 1 in 3 chance of granting a slow fall for 15 seconds. The second was the Sea Mist potion from the number 10, which not only provides water walking, but also gives a slow fall effect for 1 minute. There are many ways to negate fall damage in WoW, including gears, weapons, toys, consumables, gliders, and even food. Additionally, almost all classes have some ability to negate fall damage, whether it be a Paladin's Bubble, a Warrior's Heroic Leap, or a Demon Hunter's Glide, to name a few. However, because Slow Fall has such a wide range of uses, especially when zones have more verticality, the slow fall potions are simply more useful overall than many other potions we've already covered, and they are especially useful to classes that can't negate fall damage like monks. While water walking and water breathing do have their niche uses, slow fall can be used in anything from exploring to PvP to getting to destinations and dungeons and raids easier. These 3 slow fall potions are therefore ranked higher since they offer such versatility in how many different situations they can be used in. And at number 6, we have the good old-fashioned Speed Potion. There are actually 5 potions in the game that can increase a player's movement speed. The first is the OG from Classic Alchemy, the Swiftness Potion. This potion increases the player's movement speed by 50% for 15 seconds. The next 2 potions that were added to the game that increase the player's speed are the Darkwater Potion from MoP and the Dreadnought Swiftness Potion from Warlords of Draenor. In addition to increasing swim speed by 200%, both of these potions also increase land movement speed by 70%. The next potion comes from Legion Alchemy and is called the Sky Step Potion. This potion increases movement speed by 150% and lasts for 8 seconds. The 5th speed pot comes from the Shadowlands Alchemy and is called Potion of the Psychopomp Speed, and increases movement speed by 70% for 8 seconds. The final potion is the Potion of Reborn Cheetah from Alchemy the War Within expansion. This potion increases movement speed by 60% for 12 to 20 seconds, depending on the quality of the potion. Unfortunately, if you take damage while under the effect of this potion, you'll be dazed. In other disappointing news, almost all of these potions except for the Potion of the Reborn Cheetah do not work at max level, which is currently 80 in the game at the time of writing this video. Many classes also have their own movement speed abilities, like a Rogue Sprint, for example. And finally, there's one honorable mention potion in this section, which is the Potion of Spectre Swiftness from the Shadowlands Alchemy. This is a great potion that increases movement speed by 200% for 1 minute, but it can only be used while the player is dead. Speed potions have a wide variety of uses, from PvP captures to dodging raid mechanics, but since many of these potions are often limited by the player's level, and there are many classes with their own movement speed abilities, speed pots come in towards the middle of this list. And at number 5, we have 5 very useful combat potions, which can remove or prevent some nasty debuffs. The first 3 potions in this entry can remove stuns, snares, slows, or other movement impairing effects. The free action potion is from Classic Alchemy, and it lasts for 30 seconds, during which any stuns or movement slowing effects are automatically removed when they are applied to the player. The second potion is the living action potion, which is also from Classic Alchemy and does the same thing as the free action potion, but with a much shorter duration of 3 seconds. However, the living action potion will also remove any stuns or slows currently on the player when they drink it. The third and final potion in this category is the Dranic Living Action Potion, which does the exact same thing as the Living Action Potion, but instead comes from Lords of Draenor's Alchemy. Unfortunately, these 3 potions can only be consumed at lower levels. The next 2 potions are Dispels, which can remove nasty debuffs like poisons, curses, and diseases. The Purification Potion comes from Wrath Alchemy, and the Potion of Soul Purity is made with Shadowlands Alchemy. But unfortunately, they require the player to be below level 20 and level 60 respectively. Many classes also have their own Dispels and ways to remove movement impairing abilities. Still, these Dispel potions serve as a very rare and niche way to get some nasty dots off players, even if they are now only useful for a few classes while they're leveling. And coming in number 4, we have the Darkmoon Firewater. The OG Firewater from Classic was a battle elixir, but in WoD it was changed to allow for faster gathering of resources for 1 hour. The Darkmoon Firewater is sold by Galassa's Sundrew in Darkmoon Island for 25 Darkmoon Daggermaw. This version of the Darkmoon Fire Potion was so popular and useful for mat farmers and auction house goblins that massive quantities of it were always on the auction house, meaning players didn't have to wait until the next Darkmoon Fair for it if they really wanted to get a hold of some. Faster resource gathering is a huge bonus for many gatherers, but the Darkmoon Firewater's influence goes beyond even just that. With major profession overhauls and redesigns that began in Dragonflight, a new attribute was added to the game called Deafness. Deafness increases the speed at which a player can gather resources. Since Dragonflight, Darkmoon Firewater now increases the player's deafness by 15% for 1 hour. Of course, Darkmoon Firewater was not the only way to be able to gather resources faster before the Dragonflight expansion, as there were and still are certain racials like Cultivation for Tauren, which increases herbalism, and the Flayer racial for Worgen, which increases skinning. After Dragonflight, all these racials were converted to an increase in deafness by 25%. 25% is obviously better than a 15% buff from the Darkmoon Firewater, and there are several other racials in the game that can offer a better buff to deafness than what the Darkmoon Firewater alone can offer. However, those buffs come from racials, and Darkmoon Firewater is still a great equalizer, because any race or class combination can use it to increase their mat output. It may not even be so far-fetched to say that the Darkmoon Firewater was so popular and so sought after that it almost single-handedly introduced a new attribute into the game in the form of deafness. And that itself is no small feat. Deafness was introduced on profession gear and even to some potions in Dragonflight Alchemy and the War Within Alchemy, which means that Darkmoon Firewater was a direct prototype of something like the Phial of Deafness. And at number 3, there is a very special potion called the Elixir of Dream Vision. This potion is made with Classic Alchemy, and its item description says it all. Gives you a dream vision that lets you explore areas that are too dangerous to explore in person. This can be an incredibly useful ability, where a player can look for enemies in PvP, locate big trash plaques in Mythic Plus and raids, and even explore hostile factions and cities. This potion is actually very similar to the Warlock ability, Eye of Kilrog, and is probably based directly on it. There are also some toys that can be used to the same effect, like some of the race cars. Still, any player can buy or make this potion, which means every player theoretically has access to an ability similar to the Warlock's Eye of Kilrogg. This is one of the few potions from vanilla to have never received a new, updated version in a later expansion, and that fact does make sense as the game's difficulty has changed dramatically since the early days of WoW. However, the Elixir of Dream Vision may have inspired the unique ability in the Emerald Dream Zone from Dragonflight, where you can emote/sleep and leave your body to go explore in a dreamlike ghostly form. Although it may have had its most usefulness in Classic, even in the modern game with the Elixir of Dream Vision, scouting has never been safer and easier. And this little potion is a much underappreciated gem, which is why it lands at the number 3 spot on this list. And now we're getting into the really good stuff. At number 2, we have 4 flasks called Vicious Flask, which increases honor gains in PvP by 15%. Without going too deep into the history of PvP currency, since Battle for Azeroth, all normal PvP gear and many PvP consumables can be purchased with honor, which is awarded by doing a wide range of PvP activities. Any potion that gives free extra honor is therefore going to be a big deal for any player who dabbles even a little bit in PvP. Vicious Flasks were first added to the game in the War Within, and alchemists can currently make 4 different ones. They are the Vicious Flask of Honor, which is a straight 15% honor increase, the Vicious Flask of Classical Spirits, which is the same honor bonus plus a mana increase, and the Vicious Flask of Manifest Fury and Vicious Flask of Wrecking Ball, which can increase damage. But it gets even better. These 4 flasks last for 1 hour and can be stacked up to 8 hours, when 8 are consumed in a row. They also last through death, which is just great, especially for really bad PvPers like myself. Finally, the buff from any of these 4 flasks do not get wiped when zoning into any unrated PvP instance. These 4 Vicious Flasks are not the first currency multiplier in the game, but it is arguably the most ambitious one so far. For example, Zandalari trolls have a racial called City of Gold that grants them 2% extra gold from creatures, but that 2% is very small compared to a 15% increase from the Vicious Flasks. It's hard to understate what a game changer Vicious Flasks are to the PvP scene in World of Warcraft. They can almost always be used by casual PvPers, and they especially shine on weeks with Comp Stomp, where you get even more honor from bots so you can easily gear up ults with PvP gear. These flasks are great additions to the game, even if they are really only used by just a minority of PvP players. Still, what essentially amounts to easier honor leveling is of course going to be very high on this list, which is why the 4 Vicious Flasks have fought their way to the number 2 spot. And now we come to the number 1 spot. In the history of WoW, there have been 2 different potions that increase the amount of experience a player gains while they are leveling. Some people say you don't really play WoW until you reach max level and do endgame content. While leveling has seen many changes over WoW's history, including level squishes and level scaling, few things beat seeing the glowing animation and hearing the ding as you level up. Of the millions, if not billions, of WoW characters ever created, almost all of them have done some leveling. Some players dislike leveling and find it a chore. While you can buy a level boost when there are potions that make leveling faster in the game, it's a no-brainer that they take the number 1 spot. The first of these potions is the now deprecated one called the Excess Potion of Accelerated Learning. This potion lasted from WoD until Shadowland Squish and can be bought from the Garrison Quartermasters. The Excess Potion of Accelerated Learning increased XP gains from both killing monsters and quests by 20%, and it lasted for 1 hour. This made sense, especially in WoD, as players' numbers plummeted, and max level then stood at 100. The potion stopped working at level 99. However, players' levels continue to rise with the following expansions. The max level in Legion was 100, and this changed to 120 with Battle for Azeroth expansion. The next potion in the number 1 spot, the Draught of 10 Lands, was also added in BFA. It increased all stats by a little bit and increased experience gained by 10% for 1 hour. Unfortunately, when the Shadowlands level squish came around, the Draught of 10 Lands was rendered ineffective above level 50. The Draught of 10 Lands can still be purchased from the Provisioner Stoutforge and Borealis for 5 7th Legion service medals, or from Provisioner Murkra and Dazar Lore for 5 Honorbound service medals. This 10% is equal to many XP buffs from holidays and anniversaries, but the potion does stack with them for a 20% buff increase, at least while the player remains below level 50. However, I'm not sure if the Draught of 10 Lands is entirely an accurate name, at least during BFA. I even counted all of the lands that had been discovered by BFA, and there were only 9 continents that had been visited by players. The Eastern Kingdoms, Kalimdor, Outland, Northrend, Pandaria, Draenor, the Broken Isles, and Kul Tiras and Zandalar. I'm not sure what the 10th is supposed to be. Perhaps Gilneas, or the Wandering Isle, or maybe Deepholm, or another Catazone like Vashir. Could it be the Maelstrom or Kazan? Are Outland and Draenor even counted as 2 separate continents? Anyways, I digress. Almost all WoW players like to level faster if they could, and these two potions, the deprecated access potion of accelerated learning and the still somewhat relevant Draught of 10 Lands, provided faster leveling. As long as leveling remains a core part of the WoW experience potions may be nerfed, but will probably make a comeback once those max level numbers start creeping back up to 100 or more in a few expansions from the time after making this video. And before this video comes to an end, here are some honorable mentions. There are many potions which grant invisibility or increase stealth, as well as those that allow the player to see invisible or stealth entities. We can't list them all here because it would take too long. However, one potion is worth mentioning by name, and is the Elixir of Camouflage. This is a Burning Crusade alchemy potion that stops other players from being able to track the player. The second honorable mention worth naming is the Potion of Deepholm. This potion is made with Cataclysm Alchemy and teleports the player to Deepholm. So if you're really lazy and don't want to use the Ring of Elemental Portals in Stormwind or Orgrimmar, you can buy one of these and teleport to Deepholm directly. Now that I need a potion of Soothing Throat from all this talking, it's time to close out the video. As always, thanks for watching and give me the privilege of your time. And remember to never ask an alchemist for a love potion from a goblin while they're brewing a batch of laxatives. You'll have to just trust me on this one. Thanks to Factor75 for sponsoring today's video. Use my link to get 50% off and free shipping on your first Factor box. Just go to Factor75_HermaRedX or scan the QR code on screen.